I heard the kind of shotgun, and I just came out to see what happened. And first thing I saw was him and a lot of ICE agents over there, and I saw his wife and his daughter crying. I mean, they are killing our people, and it's kind of scary. They doesn't care, they doesn't respect life.
That was a witness account, one of the witnesses to the horrific ICE shooting of Johann Sebastian Guerrero. He's a Colombian immigrant in Biddeford, Maine, earlier this week. The shooting has sparked massive protests by residents there who are outraged by the killing of one of their neighbors. The Boston Globe is reporting this about Guerrero. Neighbors described him as a hardworking father who was trying to build a stable life for his family. He was often seen driving a small white sedan, which he used to make DoorDash deliveries. He was behind the wheel Monday morning when the immigration agent opened fire, shooting into Guerrero's car. According to the Department of Homeland Security, immigration agents were trying to serve a deportation order. According to Maine Senator Angus King's office, however, Guerrero wasn't even the target of that deportation warrant, and it is the second fatal shooting by ICE agents during a vehicle stop this week, after ICE agents shot and killed Lorenzo Salgado Arujo in Houston last week. In both that shooting and this one in Maine, ICE agents have attempted to blame the victims for their own killings and deaths. Earlier today, ICE announced that it would be pausing some vehicle stops until the officers can be retrained on vehicle stops. For their part, his neighbors are still reeling from the killing of their neighbor. One of them telling the New York Times this, quote, "I heard agony," said a local resident who said she saw a screaming woman on her knees next to a young girl. Quote, "I heard a howl that came from your soul, that your whole life had just changed and it was never going to be the same." I want to bring in political analyst, host of the Bulwark podcast, Tim Miller. Michael is still here. I mean, the thing about this is there's coverage and conversations about policies that are abhorrent. And then there are killings that are happening in all of our name, regardless of who we vote for, regardless of the old trope, elections have consequences. These two have been killed in our names as Americans. This is American policy, and they're being killed on American streets by Trump's immigration officials. Tim Miller, your thoughts?
Yeah, well, it's the second state murder this week of the wrong person. So, I think that stopping or pausing some kinds of vehicle, stops, changing policies around vehicle stops in the short term while they get more training is like basically the bare effing minimum that we can expect from a government after the agents of the state, like you said, people we pay with our tax dollars, killed the wrong person twice. In Maine, they killed Mr. Guerrero. He was fleeing. Like, they didn't even do the thing that they did with Renee Good and pretend like she was a threat and that she was turning her car at the agent, which we all saw with our eyes she didn't. They didn't even say that. Like, they said he was driving away, he's fleeing. Well, in what possible world does it make sense to fire on the wrong person when their car is driving away? And, like, you have the license plate. Like, you don't have to be a policing expert to understand the options here. You can show up to the person's house if you're worried about it later, give them a ticket. If that's a crime that requires detention, you could even serve them a warrant at their house, right? They had to open fire 6 times. The dad in front of the kids, and it's the wrong person. It's totally, totally unacceptable. And to do it in Biddeford, Maine, in the name of immigration enforcement, it's like, what? Like, this killing on the street, this murder, was about 20 minutes. I Googled it this morning from the Bush compound in Kennebunkport. I'm sure you visited, Nicole. It's like, this is a peaceful hamlet, a place people summer in Maine. Like, this is not the border. Like, this is not cartel country. So it's totally crazy that there are armed officials of the state there at all. So, and the thing is nuts. The one political thing I think is worth mentioning, so there's been a lot of discussion about the Maine Senate race and the Democrat and the issues with him over the past few weeks. But Susan Collins is the chair of the Appropriations Committee. In January, and there have been a bunch of examples of this, but there's one example in particular. I did an interview on the Bulwark YouTube with a guy who had witnessed a correction officer who's here legally. He was an agent of the state himself. He's a correction officer in Maine, get detained and bullied and manhandled and by ICE officials wrongfully sent. I get that there's this big controversy in Maine, like the correction officers, the local sheriffs, there are press conferences about it. This was all 5 months ago, saying that ICE is acting with, malice in the state, acting wrongly, going after Maine citizens. After that incident, Susan Collins was fighting for more funding for ICE. Like, she wanted to give more money for people to go into her state and menace the citizens. And so that's what she's running on as we look ahead to November.
I mean, the politics are terrible and the predicate is non-existent. I mean, the political promise was to go after, quote, the worst of the worst. This was a father and a driver, and not even the subject of the warrant, Michael Feinberg.
Yeah, I don't want to minimize what I will refer to as state-sanctioned murders, but I do want us to think about them in a larger context. Even if these shootings never happened, everything leading up to the moment when the ICE officer pulls the trigger and everything afterwards in terms of how they behaved is not remotely in line with best law enforcement practices or the norms of a democracy. I just want to pause and think about how utterly unimaginable it would have been even 5 years ago to contemplate the notion of masked federal agents obfuscating their identity, driving unmarked cars, ramming individuals for whom they do not have warrants, and then, when it goes south, executing those citizens. This is not what is supposed to happen in a functioning democracy. There are cities in the United States that, for admittedly temporally limited time periods, but still, Minnesota, if you're a Latino during certain times of the past year, it's no different than being a political dissident in Romania under the Iron Guard or being a Uyghur in China. Mm-hmm. We should not let our outrage at the murders, and that is what they are, and the outrage is deserved, but we should not let that outrage eclipse the equally justified outrage at the entire environment that is leading to these murders.